All right, it's that time of year again, March. You know the drill. Everyone's suddenly an expert on college hoops, right? We all get so into filling out our brackets, dreaming of that perfect run. But hold on, I've got to ask you something.
Seriously, think about it. When does March Madness really kick off for you? If you're like pretty much everyone else, your mind jumps straight to that first Thursday, when the big bracket of 64 teams finally gets going. Well, what if I told you that's not actually the start? The real madness, the true beginning of the tournament, kicks off a couple of days earlier. So let's break down the real first round.
Yeah, before that main bracket even gets locked in, there's this little mini tournament that goes down. It's got its own name, its own vibe, and trust me, the stakes are already sky high.
It's called the First Four, and this is the official starting line. It's a play-in round where 8 teams who have scratched and clawed all season have to play one more winner-take-all game just for a chance to get into the main dance.
That's right. While you and I are still tweaking our brackets, these 4 intense games are already happening on Tuesday and Wednesday. The pressure is just immense because if you lose here, that's it. Your tournament dream is over before most people even knew it started.
So you might be wondering, how did we get here? Why 68 teams? For the longest time, the tournament was a nice, clean 64 teams. This whole expansion to 68 is actually a pretty new thing in the grand scheme of things.
And you can see the whole story right here. Back in '85, they settled on that perfect 64-team bracket we all knew and loved for years. Then, in 2001, they added one more team, making it 65 and creating this little one-off opening round game. But the real game changer was 2011. That's when we jumped to 68 teams and got the first 4 format we have now. And what was behind that change? Well, a massive new broadcast deal. The NCAA, CBS, and Turner Sports inked a deal and, well, more games meant more TV time, more excitement, so that single play-in game got a major upgrade to a 4-game event.
So how exactly does this thing work? Because the way they pick these 8 teams and match them up, it's really specific. And honestly, a lot of people get it wrong.
You might think it's just the 8 lowest-ranked teams in the tournament, but that's not it at all. The selection committee actually creates 2 totally different kinds of matchups.
Okay, so this breaks it down perfectly. It's basically 2 mini tournaments. On one side, you've got the last 4 in. These are at-large teams. They didn't win their conference tournament, but the committee thought they were good enough to get an invite. They're usually playing for a number 11 or 12 seed. Then, on the other side, you have 4 teams that did win their conference tournaments. They're champs, but because they come from smaller conferences, they have to battle it out just to earn that number 16 seed and the right to face the top team.
And just a few key details for you. These games always happen at the University of Dayton Arena in Ohio. It's become their home. The winners, of course, move on to the main bracket, while the losers, well, they go home. And the format has been so successful that the women's tournament adopted it too back in 2022. Now, the first 4 isn't just about logistics. No way. Over the past decade, it's given us some of the most amazing stories in the whole tournament, and also sparked some pretty serious debates. This is way more than just an opening act. These games have become a launchpad for some truly legendary Cinderella runs. And the perfect example? It happened in the very first year of the format, back in 2011, a team called VCU. See, VCU was one of those last 4 in at-large teams. A lot of the experts were screaming that they didn't even belong in the tournament. They were handed a no 11 seed. But after they won that first game, something clicked. They just kept winning and winning. For 5 unbelievable games, they just kept knocking off giants and stunning everybody. I mean, just let that sink in. They went from a team that people argued shouldn't even be in the tournament to the Final Four. It was incredible. VCU literally proved that the road to the biggest stage can start in this little-known play-in round. And that unpredictability is what we all love, right? It's so chaotic that you have actual mathematicians building these insanely complex models, trying to find some formula to solve the madness. But as VCU proved, sometimes heart and a chip on your shoulder just blows all the numbers away. But like I said, the format isn't loved by everyone. There's been a persistent controversy around which teams seem to end up in these games year after year, and it's led to some people calling it unfair. So yeah, there are really two ways to look at this whole thing. On the one hand, critics say it's just not fair. You've got teams, often from historically black colleges and universities, who won their conference. They earned that automatic spot, and now they have to play an extra do-or-die game. It feels like an unfair penalty. But then you've got the other side of the coin. Supporters argue that, hey, this is a huge opportunity. These schools get the national TV spotlight all to themselves for a night, and they get a cut of that tournament money, which can be absolutely massive for these smaller programs.
Okay, so let's bring it all back. What does this all mean for you, sitting there with your blank bracket? Well, it means your homework doesn't start on Thursday. It starts on Tuesday. You got to remember these key things. First, 4 winners are different. They're already battle-tested. They've already won a high-pressure tournament game, and they roll into that round of 64 with all this momentum. And the stats don't lie. They become giant killers. And if you just ignore them, if you just pencil in a loss without a second thought, you could be setting yourself up for a classic bracket buster.
It really all boils down to this simple, powerful idea. A chip on the shoulder can be a powerful thing. You're dealing with teams playing with something to prove. They feel disrespected, they feel overlooked, and that kind of motivation can make you a very, very dangerous opponent.
So, let me ask you one last time. As you map out your picks, are you just going to dismiss those teams playing on Tuesday and Wednesday? Or are you going to see them for what they really are? The most tested, most motivated, and maybe, just maybe, the most dangerous underdogs in the whole tournament. The choice is yours.